All right, Prosser's ready. I'm ready. I'm going to turn my volumes down because I'm
not too loud now.
Loud.
Just right. Find the magic spot.
Just right. So throughout this Olympic, the past 16 months, been doing these segments called Road to Paris where I give Olympic updates. I don't know what to call it because we're at the end of the Road to Paris. I said, is this the Paris pod? Delaney said Olympic Outlook. So viewers, listeners, you can help us decide what we call this segment. But we're going indoor. Brought in our indoor
pre-Paris podcast.
The pre-Paris pod, and then once we get into Paris, it's just going to be the Paris pod.
Yeah.
The double P.
Yeah.
But I brought in our indoor expert. We're going indoor today. We got Matt Prosser. And I think you're the indoor expert because you've actually been traveling around the VNL. Where'd you go? You went to Brazil?
I was lucky enough to go to Rio for, I believe that was week 1 of the men, and then Ottawa for week 2 of the men.
Okay.
So it was 2 great pools. If you have never been to Rio de Janeiro to watch volleyball, put it on your bucket list if you're a volleyball fan because it was amazing. 10,000 fans sold out for every Brazil match. They show up 2 hours ahead of the time.
Sick.
They cheer for the players as they come out. They go crazy for the coach when he comes out. They appreciate great volleyball, but they're just, obviously Brazil is so well known for chaotic, fanatic fans.
Yep.
Like that was the epitome of it. It was pretty awesome.
And are they, so I was just in Stade. And the Stade fans, I mean, it's Switzerland, right? So they couldn't have been more neutral. They were just fans of everything.
Yeah,
everything and everyone that did something, loved it. And in commentating Vienna, throat sore, done 5 matches 3 days in a row, got 5 more tomorrow. But like the fans in Vienna, they don't care who's playing. They're singing, they're dancing. It doesn't matter if it was Brazil or Australia versus Switzerland was the last one.
You really love seeing
Packed
that as a fan of volleyball. You love being in an environment where they appreciate great volleyball and they celebrate great volleyball, but obviously they're so passionate about the team that they're supporting, but also seeing great volleyball.
Right.
Yeah.
But then Brazil crowds, it's like a college football crowd where it can get hostile in a sporting sense, where it's big for the home. It's a very big home away advantage.
100% for sure. And this was at the same arena that 2016 Olympics were held at in Rio de Janeiro, where Brazil won gold medals. Okay. Well, for the men. And so to see that environment, I mean, the other team would serve and you've got 10,000 fans whistling at them while they're serving. Like there's no, bad words being thrown out that you could tell in Portuguese or anything like that. But just an amazing environment. Ottawa was great too. They had 7,500 fans for Canada versus U.S.
Solid.
Highest attended international men's match in North America.
Really?
So that was a fun thing to be a part of. Canada won that match over the United States, I believe, in 4 sets. So it was
pretty 4 sets for USA fans.
No, it was not. But we don't need to go there. The environment was good, and those Canadian fans, they're passionate about their volleyball team too, and they were very supportive of them. I mean, obviously, it was a home game for them. Yeah. So
they're strong. Yeah, and so what today is, so a lot of people have been asking, where's my Olympic preview? I'm trying to throw some money down, Trav. Break it down. So we brought in Prosser. You're going to give us the update. So we just signed a new sponsor. Perfect timing. Bet Online. You can use our code, which you can find in the show notes, or just our link you can find in the show notes to sign up. There's no geo-blocking. So in California, you can still sports bet. That was my first question with the guys, because I was like, listen, we have a pretty California-heavy demo, and if we can't bet, we're not going to get many. But he was like, dude, you can bet any. I don't know what the workaround is.
Go to that website.
I'm not asking any questions. So Bet Online.
Okay.
And if you use our link when you sign up, SANDCAST gets $70. If you don't even care about betting, want to help the boys, use our link to sign up for Bet Online. So this is going to be the Olympic men's volleyball preview. And I'm just going to run down the odds. And so for those unfamiliar with betting, when the line is plus 350, it means if you bet $100 and that team wins, you get $350 back. If it is minus 135, you need to bet $135 to then win 100. All right, there's your, just very simple. All right, so the men's Olympic odds. Poland, favorites at plus 350. Italy is plus 550. France is plus 600. Kind of like them. USA plus 750. Brazil plus 800. Slovenia plus 900. Japan, funnest team in the world to watch, plus 900. Canada, dark horse, plus 1,200. Argentina, plus 1,600. Serbia is plus 1,600. Germany, plus 1,600. And Egypt, give me that plus 50,000.
Wow. Wow. Maybe we can hit a trifecta somewhere on there too.
Yeah.
Because
you get the gold, silver, bronze
could pay out pretty well.
Yeah, that's called in horse racing. It's called the exacta. Wow. If you get the 1, 2, 3, and that's a big payout. So I don't know if Bet Online does exactas, but you've watched a lot of indoor.
Yeah.
Covered the VNL.
Yeah.
Who do you like as your podium?
I definitely think that Italy and Poland will be on the podium.
Okay.
I don't want to give anything away just quite yet, but I definitely think they'll for sure be in semifinals playing for medals.
Okay.
And I think they both should be on the podium. France, Japan, I think both have a chance to be up there as well. I think France a little bit of a stronger chance than Japan. Mm-hmm. You have to say USA can be up there as well too. They've got a lot of work ahead of them to do that. Brazil can be there too. And so I know we got a lot of stuff to talk about. So I'll give you 2 out of the 3 on the podium. Italy, Poland, maybe in that order. But again, we'll get to those details later.
Okay. Now, before we get to the podium, so with beach, it's really hard to predict the podium because it's a literal blind draw out of a hat for how the playoffs shake out after pool play.
Yeah.
So we have 3 pools of 4. Break down the format of how indoor works.
Okay, so for the Olympics, for the men, it's 3 pools of 4 teams. The top 2 from each pool, after pool play is finished, automatically advance to the quarterfinals.
Okay.
Then the next 2 best third-place teams move on to fill out that quarterfinal bracket of 8 teams.
Got it.
So top 2 from each pool, and then the next best 2 third-place teams will move on.
Okay.
To the quarterfinals, single elimination, obviously the rest of the way.
And so there will be 1 third-place team doesn't break.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So our pools are Group A. We got France, Slovenia, Canada, Serbia. Group B is Poland, Italy, Brazil, and Egypt, plus 25,000 to win Group B. You put $100 on, you might win 25K. Unlikely?
Highly unlikely. Very highly unlikely.
Group C is, I think, the highest parity. USA, Japan, Argentina, and Germany. So we'll just start with Group A. France, Slovenia, Canada, Serbia. France is minus 135 to win the group. How do you see this one? Who's breaking Pool A?
Yeah, France, as the defending Olympic champions, they just won the VNL event this year. So they're definitely going to advance for sure. They're a strong team. Coach Andrea Gianni, an Italian legend, has been on the coaching staff for this team now for a few years, and their team is playing their best right now. They're peaking right on time. I don't think people really expected them to win VNL, but you could see that the way they managed their players, they worked through some things. They even were missing Chinyeze, who's one of their best middle blockers, was not at the finals, did not play for the finals in VNL. And they didn't have Ingapeth for the majority of the whole VNL.
And he was the MVP of Tokyo, correct?
He was the MVP of Tokyo, yes. Brizard and Toniuti, the setters, both very good, different dynamics depending on who's on the court, changes the style of their offense by quite a bit. Their outside hitters, Trevor Klevno is an undersized outside hitter, but extremely effective and kind of like an unsung hero for that team because he's not this huge physical presence, but he's experienced and he gets the job done from the left side.
So riddle me this. So France is the defending gold medalist. They're at home, just won VNL.
Yeah.
But they're plus 600. Meanwhile, Poland, Italy are 1-2.
So, okay, they're the 1 seed overall because they're the host nation.
Right.
In world rankings, they're actually the 4th ranked team in the world, behind Poland, Japan, and Italy at 1, 2, and 3.
Japan is that high?
Japan has gone all the way up to 2, after finishing 2nd at VNL.
Good for them.
So, yeah. The world rankings for men's volleyball indoors and women's volleyball goes on a 365-day cycle, and it fluctuates after every match. And the reason that Italy is at number 3 is that they sent their entire B squad to the 3rd week of VNL and also the finals. And so that dropped their rankings. I actually think Italy is 1 or 2 with Poland and not 3. They should be a little bit higher.
Got it. So you like France to win Group A. Who else breaks? Do you think Slovenia takes the 2, Canada the 3? Does Serbia have a chance of breaking?
Yeah, I'd put my money on Slovenia to advance.
Okay.
That team's playing very well. They've been playing very well since World Championships in 2022, where they got 4th. They got 4th in the VNL this year. That group has played together for a very long time together. And this coach, Coach Kritu, who's been with them for a little while, has really helped this team find their identity and their strong points and capitalize that. And they've gotten players now playing over in Italy professionally. Rock Mazic, Jan Kazamirnik through the middle. They've got some very good, talented players that if they can catch a couple breaks, they could advance to the semifinals. But I certainly see them getting out of pool.
Yeah, I love Rock Mazic. I remember commentating him in the Italian league.
Yeah.
Fun kid.
Yeah.
And he's still so young.
I believe he's 22 now.
Yeah,
he's coming off of an ankle surgery at the end of the Italian Super League season. Didn't play at all during the VNL. He was on the roster and on the bench for the final weekend, but he didn't play at all. He's been rehabbing his ankle.
Okay.
So,
got it. All right. Any more thoughts on Group A before we move on?
Well, yeah. So Canada I have Canada kind of slotted in that wild card spot for one of those third place positions because they're playing good. Better than Serbia. Serbia's a little more on the veteran side. I saw them play quite a bit in VNL. They're hot and cold. Canada is very physical and they're young, and they've got 3 outside hitters. Well, 2 outside hitters and an opposite that are really, really strong.
I love Eric Lepke's game.
Lepke is one of those guys.
Stephen
Marr. Yeah,
he killed the U.S. in Ottawa. He was automatic.
He did. He's been very good. He's been playing in Italy for the last couple of years. His game has gotten really strong. He's a big physical guy. And then Arthur Schwark, their opposite. He's like 6'10", righty. They've got to polish up a couple of things, especially through the middle. Their middle attacking isn't quite as prominent as some of these other teams. But against the United States, their blocking was ridiculous. I think they had something like 18 blocks in a match. In 4 sets. Damn. Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, I remember Schwarg. So he was coming off the bench, maybe from Modena, and George Grozier gets hurt.
Right.
And that dude got set every ball. Schwarg comes in.
It's Monza.
Yeah. Schwarg comes in and was just teeing off. I was like, who is this guy?
Yeah, exactly. And that was when he had long hair, probably.
Oh, yeah.
A little younger. He's developed a lot because Grozier left Monza, I believe, to go to Turkey. And then Schwark was the opposite for that team last season. And they made a run all the way to the Scudetto finals in Italy.
Wow.
And lost to Trentino.
I mean, that's no joke.
They had a stacked team in Monza last year. They were pretty good. Yeah. Fun to watch.
It's funny how fast things change. When I commentated, Monza was not great.
Right.
And then, but people just re-sign on different teams and rosters are rebuilt so fast.
Rosters change. And again, so funny you mentioning Canada and Monza, Lepke, Marr, and Schwark were all on that Monza team last season.
No kidding.
And you're seeing them really make an impact now on the Canadian squad, that those 3, especially when it comes to passing and their serve reception, they're used to playing with each other. And so that's not something you see very often, 3 national team members from one team playing on the same club team sometimes.
That's huge.
Massive.
Because I always wonder about the team chemistry thing, where you play with a different team for 8 months out of the year, and then you come in your national team gym and you kind of slap it together.
Since we're talking about Monza, all 6 of their starters are going to the Olympics.
Wow.
So they had Cachapa, Fernando Creeling, the setter from Brazil, is starting for Brazil now.
Okay.
And Galassi was one of the middles.
Him.
Is a starter for Italy. And so I guess we're leaving off one other middle. I think it was Thomas Beretta who was starting for them. He's not going, but those, I guess, 5 starters.
Strong.
And then also Ron Takahashi from Japan.
There's your 6 to watch.
He's really fun to watch. And he's a key component for Japan that we'll get to in a couple of minutes.
Yeah. And Japan we'll get to shortly. That's Group C. Group B, we got Poland minus 110 to win the group. Italy plus 200. Brazil plus 350. Egypt plus 25,000. What do we think about Group B?
So, I mean, Group B has 3 of the top 7 teams in the world in the pool. So Poland, Italy, and Brazil. This is going to be a battle to not be in third place, right? Because those 3 teams should advance into the quarterfinals. Let's see, Brazil plays Italy on the first day of competition in Paris. So mark your calendars for that. I believe it's July 27th.
Okay.
That's going to be a lot of fun to watch. I wouldn't expect to see when Poland plays Italy, both A squads playing, because I don't think they want to show their cards too early in the tournament.
It's that much. Even at the Olympics, you can let off the gas a little.
I mean, in this pool, because all three of those teams are going to beat Egypt, right? If Italy beats Brazil, then their match against Poland, right, is going to be sort of inconsequential. So they can let some of their B guys play, and they're still going to advance in the 1 or 2 spot, right?
Potentially, though, right? Because Egypt's going to be out at the 4, but there's still one third-place team that won't break.
Right. But we still have to talk about Argentina and Germany in Pool 3.
Yeah.
Or Pool C. So maybe I'm reading into it a little bit too much after seeing what Italy did in the VNL, where they brought basically their 2022 World Championship team to the first 2 weeks, and they ran through. They didn't run through everybody, but they went undefeated through 2 weeks of pool play. They beat Brazil in Brazil, 15-13 in the 5th. Okay. Still not an easy task to do, but a wild match, and really shows the class that Italy has. That team has been playing together for well over 3 years, and they're the defending world champions. They're young. Alessandro Michieletto, the 6'10" left-handed outside hitter, is perhaps the best outside hitter in the world. Perhaps, but at 23 for his age, he does things. And then the setter that they have, Simone Gianelli, is 27. He's MVP of the Superliga season for Perugia. He's 6'7", physical, tall. He can block. He can go up and save the tight pass. He runs a great offense, and Italy is just stacked all the way around. Yeah. So Poland, look, I mean, you can't talk about Olympics without Poland. They're obviously the top-ranked team in the world right now. And Wilfredo Leon is another. You're going to see 2 of the best players basically in the world in the same pool. So
you got Leon and Michieletto.
So I think those are the top 2 outside hitters in the world right now. They're both 6'8", 6'9", 6'10", something like that. They can attack from the back row. Their jump serves are 2 of the best jump serves in the world. They're different, with Michieletto being left-handed and Leon just tossing it high and just hits the fastest jump serve in the world. I think he has the record right now at like 138 kilometers per hour, something like that. Damn. But Poland's dangerous. I mean, and they're very experienced. Their serve reception is spectacular. Zatorski's their libero. He's great. They've got a strong opposite in Bartosz Kurek. And then through the middle, they're experienced with Bieniek on the pins, Semeniuk, Fornal, and Slivka, who's a lefty. They've got weapons too. So Pool B is very intriguing. And Brazil, I mean, we haven't even talked about them yet, and I'm kind of skipping ahead. But Brazil is also very good. They've struggled a little bit. They struggled through the VNL. They got bit by the injury bug. Bruno Rezende, the setter, he's kind of aging a little bit. He didn't play in the 3rd week or the finals of VNL because of an injury to, I think, like his lower leg, sort of calf area. So Fernando Kraling, Cachapa set most of the time. Lucas Satkamp, the middle, he's aging a little bit. They've got some youth with Darlan, the opposite, and his brother, Alan de Souza. 2 brothers that both play opposite. They're both going, which is pretty cool. Sweet. They're on the roster. But then their outside hitters are really good. I mean, they won the gold medal in 2016. Ricardo Lucarelli is a world-class outside hitter. Yoanni Leal as well. And they've got some youth too. So and they have a new coach with Bernardinho. He's not new, but he's come back on to coach the team. Obviously, that's a very important thing for them in terms of characteristics and team dynamics. Bernardinho is a legend, right, in Brazil or volleyball worldwide. Yeah. They're going to rely on him to try to create some magic probably for that team. But Brazil's very good. And I think those are the 3 teams, obviously, that are going to get out of this pool. And they'll probably be that top 3rd place team.
Got it. So how is do you know how the 3rd place teams, what the tie breaks are? So say you got 2 3rd place teams that are 1 and 2. Does it go first?
It'll probably be sets and then points.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Sets and points. It won't be head-to-head, obviously, because they'll be from different pools.
Right.
Sets and then points, yeah.
Okay. So, but everyone's going to beat Egypt.
Yeah.
Is Egypt washed from that? Or is it, well, I guess it can't be. Yeah, because I'm thinking of Elite 16s in beach where if a team goes 3-0, everyone else's matches against that team, it's washed out. You don't count it. But you can't do that with indoor.
I don't think that happens indoors because the games are longer. There's more points. What's going to make that interesting is that in Pool B, Poland, Italy, Brazil should all handily beat Egypt. Right. So their point ratios are going to be really low, right? Points scored against them. Versus like Pool C, you've got Argentina, Germany, Japan, and USA. Those are going to be 4 tight matches. And Canada and Serbia are still very good, and they can push either one of those top 2 teams, France or Slovenia, into 4 or 5 sets. So it really, to me, that's where the exciting part is that second and final third place spot or that 8th place position going into quarterfinals.
Got it. And so everyone in Pool B has an incentive to run it up against Egypt.
Yeah.
And score as much as you can.
Yeah, and theoretically they should. Egypt had a good run through the Challenger Cup, which just happened a couple weeks ago as sort of their warm-up to the Olympics. But this is just not a level playing field for them against those 3 squads.
Yeah.
So,
got it. So Pool B, get your popcorn ready. Stacked. On to Group C. Let's go USA. Favorites to win, we are plus 100. Japan plus 175. Right behind them, Argentina, that we talked about, plus 700. And Germany plus 1,200. Break it down for me, Matty.
Yeah, I mean, my favorites to break pool are going to be Japan and the United States. Japan is playing some great volleyball right now. Super entertaining, like you said. You've got Ron Takahashi and Yuki Ishikawa on the outside, 2 of the best outside hitters in the world. And then obviously their extremely dynamic opposite hitter, Yuji Nishida, who jumps out of the gym. He's 6'4", but attacks well over 11 and a half feet, and he's left-handed and an amazing server as well. The style of volleyball that Japan plays is highly technical, super, super fast. Their setter, Saketa, is fairly undersized, and you're going to see a lot of teams take advantage of that on their attacking versus Saketa's block and defense. But Japan does a great job moving him around and disguising him and kind of scheming with him and then working out of it because their libero, Yamamoto, is one of the best liberos in the world, defensively speaking. So Japan plays great volleyball. They extend rallies sometimes 4 or 5 kind of times the ball's got to go over before you score a point, which a lot of these other teams struggle with. So that's something that they do very well. They've got a French coach, Philippe Blaine, who's come on and done a great job of bringing this team together in preparation for Paris, right? And their middles are dynamic. Their middles are strong and big. They run a fast offense, and when they're in system with their serve reception, they're very, very hard to stop because of how fast their offense is.
Now, when I've watched Japan, wildly entertaining, incredibly skilled.
Yeah.
I think for both beach and indoor, best platforms in the game. Not going to get a better passing federation than Japan most of the time. Are they big enough to win an Olympic medal? Like, can they sustain it is the question.
So in my notes here, they have not won a gold medal since the Munich Games of 1972.
Okay.
Where they got gold, right? This will be their best opportunity to get a medal that they've had since then, probably, and may very well have for the next, depending on how long that core group stays together. They could play again in Los Angeles in 2028, but now is kind of their time, right? They will give up some height, to some of these bigger teams like Poland and Italy, but if they can stay in system and run their offense and play their style, then it's going to make it very challenging for those teams that are bigger physically to beat them.
They're like those mosquitoes. They just annoy you, and you're just swatting at them. Doesn't matter how big you are.
Their women's team is a lot the same. They play great defense. They pass really well. It's like you're playing volleyball against a wall. The ball just is always coming back.
Yep.
And they've played together now for a couple of years, and so they qualified for the Olympics in Tokyo. last October at the Olympic qualifier tournament. And they had a nice run in the VNL where they lost in the finals to France.
Pretty good run.
Yeah.
So we like Japan. Do you think Japan wins the pool over USA, Argentina, and Japan? Or in Germany?
Yeah. I mean, the winner of this pool is pretty hard to pick because I feel like USA is going to come into the Olympics with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. At least I hope they do. Trying to prove something that maybe they didn't really show during VNL as that went on. They lost to Japan in Fukuoka during VNL as well. So good chance for them to kind of get a rematch there. Argentina, they're very, very good. Obviously led by Luciano Di Cecco. He's going to be the flag bearer for Argentina, which is pretty cool to see a volleyball player, but obviously world famous, setter, one of the best there is, has been doing it for a long time. Argentina won a medal in Tokyo, and they can play great volleyball too. We saw them kind of, peaks and valleys a little bit through the VNL, but they found their rhythm. And when they had Facundo Conte come in, who's been a long time outside hitter for them. So when they want to play, they're very dangerous, but there are times when, at least in the VNL, they showed like they weren't that motivated. But this is the Olympics. I mean, you got to leave everything
If you're
out.
not motivated this week,
Yeah.
you're not motivated any week. And so the U.S., we haven't talked about them much. So they came into VNL in Ottawa when we had Eric Shoji on the podcast, number 2 team in the world.
Yeah.
Struggled a lot during VNL. So what does the United States have to get right to win an Olympic medal? Because Tokyo did not go great, didn't break pool.
Right. They were finished in 5th out of that 6-team pool.
And VNL, for the first time ever, don't make the finals. So what does the U.S. have to do to right the ship and come home with some hardware?
It's hard to put your finger on just on one thing, right?
Yeah.
Volleyball involves so many different skills and strategies to employ, and you've got to get some lucky breaks and things like that. They're 6th in the world coming into the Olympics. They named their roster very early on. They were the first nation to name their roster, I believe, back in May. And then they held their A squad back in that first week of VNL so those guys could get team time training together. And, Matt Anderson had a great quote in Ottawa. It was a chance for that team to come together instead of compete against one another, trying to find that
right
roster spot for those players. I think it kind of backfired, to be honest, for the U.S. in weeks 2 and 3 of the VNL, because you could see that they were lacking international match competition. All the other teams that they were playing had already had those matches under their belts, and you could see that they were firing on a couple more cylinders in those matches where the U.S. was still trying to kind of find, certain plays in certain situations that they just hadn't really ironed out because the guys had come back from their club seasons and just hadn't had a whole lot of time on court, in competition together. Even though this is a very veteran group, it's mainly the entire same team that went to Tokyo for those Olympics. And, obviously Matt Anderson's going to play opposite. He might play some outside hitter. TJ DeFalco is going to be a key component for this team. I think this format now where they only play 3 matches in pool play helps Team USA because this is the oldest team that USA Volleyball has ever sent to the Olympics with an average age of 32 years old. So that's a little worrisome because you could see physically on the demands of the VNL matches where they had to play back-to-back days, it's not enough time to recover for these guys. And this is a dynamic, high-level sport that these guys are playing. This format's going to help them. And I think they're going to come into Paris with, like I said, a chip on their shoulder and something to prove. And they have to play their best volleyball when their best is needed, which is going to be the majority of every single match. And that's going to be an interesting storyline.
Yeah. And TJ was sensational in the last stop of the VNL. To me, and I don't know a whole lot about indoor, I feel like he's sort of that key for the U.S. because, as you mentioned, pretty old. TJ's young, 10 feet tall and bulletproof still. And he can get set a couple nights in a row.
Be careful when you say bulletproof, but I mean, yeah, like, look, the starting group for the USA can be world class. Obviously, Matt Anderson, TJ, Aaron Russell, Michael Christensen, Eric Shoji. The middles, all three of the middles are legitimate middle blockers, right? That could play for any one of these teams anywhere in the world. They've just got to bring it all together, right? They've got to play their best when their best is needed. And they're going to get out of this pool. I really do think either 1, 2, or 3, I do think that they're going to advance.
Okay.
When they advance, they've got to be playing A++ volleyball the whole rest of the way.
Yep.
To get through that quarterfinal. I mean, you got to win the quarterfinal because then you got a shot at a medal in the semis. But they've got to be able to do it right.
So we have 3 pools. How are the quarters mapped out? Do you know? So you have obviously you'll have 4 sort of top favorites, and then you'll have 4 underdogs. But you only have 3 pool winners. So the Group A, Group B, Group C winner will be the 1, 2, 3. I would assume.
So I don't know the exact details, but I would imagine they'll take the top 4. They'll definitely take the top 3, the winners from each pool, and probably put them in a bowl, right? And then do a drawing of how to shake down the format of the bracket with those 8 teams. The 2 third-place teams will be playing a 1-seed team somewhere along there, and then the second-place teams will probably play each other.
Got it.
Or some variation thereof.
Makes sense.
But I didn't get a chance to research the tiebreakers for that.
Yeah, and so we'll figure those out. We're hoping to have you on pretty much throughout the 2 weeks of the Olympics. I think it'd be fun just to keep chatting volley.
Yep.
All right. So you've broken it all down. You like Poland and Italy on the podium. Who's our third team on the podium?
I like Italy at number 1. I think Italy's going to get the gold medal. I think they're going to play Poland in the final.
Okay.
The bronze medal game, I feel, is going to be France. And somebody else.
France and somebody else.
A team to be named later.
From the way you were talking about it, France-Japan would seem an apt bronze medal match.
It would. It would make for a great rematch of the VNL final. France playing in Paris for a medal is going to be an amazing environment for them. Talk about home court advantage.
Yeah.
It'll be difficult for any team to beat them because of, that 7th or 8th player, which is the crowd, right, supporting them. I feel like the USA has a chance to be in the medal rounds. Same with Japan. I mean, even Argentina could get there, but then also Brazil. I mean, it's really tough to pick just one, to fit into that second semifinal. I think it could be either of those 3 teams, Brazil, USA, or Japan. Most likely playing, France in the other semifinal.
So you'd say pretty likely semis, Poland, Italy, France. Odds would agree with that. And then it's pretty much a coin flip between US, Brazil, Japan. I
think so. And one more thing we got to talk about is health of the teams, right? They have a 13th player now on the roster that can come in and replace an injured player at any point in the tournament, right? Once that injured player is off the roster, though, they can't get put back on.
Okay.
So that's a key component. If guys stay healthy, right, that's going to put that team a little bit more in the driver's seat than a team that's banged up or maybe lost a player and brought in their alternate, right? But
question for you.
Yeah.
The U.S., we only took 1 oppo. Is our alternate ending?
It is, yes.
Okay. Say the U.S. play around a pool play, and Spara thinks we kind of need an oppo. Could he injury sub someone out of the roster? Say a Micah Ma, who for all intents and purposes is a serving sub at this point, probably not going to play over Christensen? Like something like that.
Theoretically, yeah, you can injury sub anybody to bring your alternate in. In the situation for the United States, with only Matt Anderson being the sole labeled opposite on that 12-man roster, I don't think we'd see it happen in this instance because we've seen TJ DeFalco actually step over and play right side over the last couple of years. And I would think we'd see that again at some point in Paris. and also Matt Anderson plays outside hitter for his professional teams wherever he is. He just finished in Turkey.
So those two are interchangeable.
Those two are fairly interchangeable. The opposite position is Matt Anderson's position.
Got it.
Right, and TJ is an outside hitter. But if they need to make a change or get a different matchup when it comes to hitting versus blocking, we can see that change come in, because then TJ and Matt can also step into pass in that opposite hitter position. So it's a nice dynamic that John Sprague gets to pick from. Kyle Ensing's a great opposite hitter who's been playing strong volleyball professionally in Europe. He's the alternate. And if someone was to get hurt in that outside hitter core group, then Matt could come over. Matt Anderson could come over from the opposite and play outside, and then Kyle could come on, or even TJ could stay there for a match or two and see. I don't think you want to mess too much with your backup setter in case your starting setter does get injured.
Yeah.
So I think Micah Ma is, in a good spot for that.
I mean, that was just kind of the only example I could think of. But because I remember when we had Shoji on, he was saying it was a bit of a surprise that when the roster was announced, there was only one opposite taken in, 3 middles?
3 middles.
3 middles on the roster?
Yeah, 3 middles on the roster. That's pretty normal.
Okay.
4 outside hitters. I think they got 2 setters, 1 libero, and 1 opposite. So, Thomas Jeske is another name we haven't talked about, but he's
playing great ball.
He's playing good volleyball. He was good in Ottawa, and he earned that spot on the team, and he's going to get probably a lot of opportunities too. During Paris.
Yeah, him and Micah were fun to watch in Ankara in Turkey.
Yeah.
Because we watch pretty much every time Micah plays, and he's on CEV TV. Because him and Zana are practically family. So we're always watching that team. And Jeske has been great in Turkey.
Yeah. Well, he was also in Japan playing good volleyball too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's fun to be able to watch all this international volleyball. And especially now with Paris, this is going to be a fun tournament to watch. I mean, literally, there's 3 teams that could win gold. There's 7 teams that could win a medal. Maybe even 8 teams that could win a medal.
Crazy.
I mean, any of those 8 teams that make it to the quarterfinals, they have a shot to win a medal. Some higher than other, obviously, based on the odds, but it should be a lot of fun to watch.
Like Vince Lombardi said, any given Sunday, anyone can win. Yeah. Matt, I appreciate you. Thanks for breaking down the men.
Thanks for having me.
We're going to turn it right back around, break down the women.
Nice.
Shoots.